Hello and welcome to Basement Fodder, the only show whose hosts are the manliest of men until the damn Flash episode feels kick in.
Oh man, those things are brutal.
I'm Todd.
I'm Dave.
And welcome back to the show.
Yes.
Last week we did a big, long review of Night of Champions, which is popular as ever, it seems. The wrestling shows always seem to get good numbers.
Yeah.
And we also did the video show, which I hope you guys watched, which seems to be that quite a few of you actually did.
Yeah.
And we had fun doing that too. But we're back with a normal show, ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
So many news items to talk about as far as DC television goes, and Marvel television too.
DC, Marvel, all of it. Yeah, there's a bunch of new news that's coming out as far as shows and movies. One of the things that just came out was, let me see if I can scroll. So Marvel just announced that they are doing an Ant-Man sequel. That was kind of a big deal. It's getting this year's Ant-Man will be getting a sequel with both Ant-Man and Wasp. It'll actually be called Ant-Man and Wasp. It'll be the first ever Marvel movie that has a female character in the title.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's set for July 6th, 2018. And both Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly are, going to reprise their roles. The thing that's interesting about this, though, is that movie is in addition to Black Panther and Captain Marvel, which are around in there. And from what I understand, they got shifted. Black Panther will actually now be coming out in February 16th, 2018.
It already came out 8 years ago.
Yeah, nobody cared.
Nobody cares because it's fucking Black Panther.
Yeah, I still give no fucks. And Captain Marvel got pushed back to March 8th, 2019.
Interesting.
So, and then on top of that, they also announced 3 new films that will be aired. One is May 1st, 2020, July 10th, 2020, and November 6th, 2020. So, apparently they're really confident about, bumping it up some more.
I'm interested to see what happens with this Ant-Man thing, because, when you say Ant-Man and Wasp, it makes me think, are they going to do any sort of, prequel-ish sort of things, in the, doing stuff when it was the original two together, because there was a history of that.
I wonder
if they may delve into where Janet is, or if she is still alive.
I think it might have something to do with back and forth. It might just throw a lot more back into the history of, the Pym and Janet time period. And it should be really interesting, though, because Ant-Man's going to be in Civil War.
Yeah. So
we're going to see a lot more showcase of, him and his abilities. So I feel like it would be okay in the sequel to kind of maybe throw it back more.
I'd just be interested to see how consistently they could do that epic fucking de-aging that they did in the first one, because it blew my fucking mind. We talked a lot about it at the time, and it's probably the best age work I've ever seen that wasn't a practical makeup. It was some of the best digitization, de-aging I've ever seen, for sure.
It was on point, as far as...
It was, creepishly on point. And not in the Uncanny Valley either, though.
No. It did a really good job. You didn't even really think about it. You saw it, and, it was so fluid in the scene that you were just like, yes, that is awesome. It caught you off guard when you first saw it, and then everything was good. That was actually one of my favorite scenes from that movie, because he was just a fucking badass.
Michael Douglas is a badass.
Yeah.
Still a badass.
Still a badass. And everybody else in that scene. Carter, Stark, all of them. Now, speaking of new things from Marvel, too, they just announced that it's ABC, right? That has,
ABC. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Agents of
so
S.H.I.E.L.D.
they have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter. Now they just announced that they're going to be doing 2 more shows. One is the spinoff with Bobby and Hunter, which was kind of at first they were going to do it, and then they weren't going to do it, and I guess now it's back on. They are going to do it. And then the 4th show is actually going to be a comedy sitcom called Damage Control, which is based around the cleanup crew.
Which that's interesting that they're using that as a title because Damage Control is the title of a DC book.
Yeah.
So I wonder maybe that title might get switched, but it actually comes around.
Yeah.
But I saw a little presentation about that, and I thought it looked vaguely interesting, but I don't know about its chances of being something that would go.
Yeah, I think I
could see them commissioning a pilot for it, but I don't know if it's something that would play.
Yeah. I mean, I know they commissioned a pilot for the spin-off one, and then I think they did for this one too. We'll see which out of the two actually gets for an actual full series. I don't know. I think the sitcom Damage Control one could be interesting, but I don't know how well it would go over.
The problem is tonality is an issue there, and they've already kind of played around with tonality in the Marvel universe so far with the TV stuff, which doing Daredevil is very tonally different than Shield, and then very tonally different than the movies and stuff too.
Yeah.
And then Shield is more of your straight up action comedy that's more similar to what they do in the movies.
Yeah.
And so to see them go a pure comedy, it could work if done really, really well.
Yeah.
Or it could be some weird drizzling shits office sort of thing, which I can't hack.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too, because they've also got on Netflix, they've got, Jessica Jones show is supposed to be coming out here soon, and they've showed teasers for that. And from what that looks like, it also seems tone-wise, it's pretty, I wouldn't say dark as Daredevil, but pretty dark. But it's also going to incorporate more of the powers, because if you saw the teaser trailer, she's got the strength. She just completely destroys the alarm that's going off, just crushes it like an aluminum can. And the actors that they have in it, it could be, I imagine, more sarcastic, snarky humor.
Well, yeah,
and then very dark tones. So yeah, a full sitcom comedy thing is definitely a jump in a very different direction. I don't know how it'll go over.
We'll see what actually happens and if it comes to fruition or not, because a lot of superhero shows, they go into production or they go into pre-production and they never see the light of day.
Yeah.
I went down a fucking Wikipedia rabbit hole last night when I was searching for some information that, there's so many shows that, almost went, 2 different Dead Man shows that almost went, and one that still might go at some point, and different Teen Titans shows that may or may not still go.
That Wonder Woman
show that even got a full pilot.
That Bruce Wayne,
which was very interesting, which was predating Smallville. The original plan was to do a Bruce Wayne show, and the utter failure of Batman and Robin, coupled with what at the time was going to be the next Bat movie, which was going to be Batman Year One, which never actually came to fruition. This was 99, 2000-ish. They went really far enough to where they had a full script and almost into pre-production.
Yeah.
And we're even looking at casting things like Sean Ashmore was looked at heavily for Bruce, and Michael Rosenbaum Smallville was looked at heavily for Harvey Dent. It's just interesting to see all the stuff that could have been, and then some of the stuff that actually I can't even believe got to the pilot phase, like that god-awful live-action Justice League pilot.
Yeah.
Which is, boy, guys, if you haven't seen that,
it's bad.
I personally will say, because I'm a weird completist, that you should see it.
Yeah.
Because,
you need to see it because
it's a lot of fun to watch.
You need to see, what they do to Adam. That costume is interesting, but I think the best is Green Lantern. You need to see Green Lantern because they took every Green Lantern except for Jon Stewart and just formed them into one character.
Yeah, he has the vest Guy, and his name is Guy, but he looks like Hal, but his mask is like Kyle.
Yeah.
And his attitude is he's a weird womanizing kind of
He's kind
gigolo.
of a mixture of Guy and Hal.
Guy together, yeah. And then the Flash, I shit you not, is a dumber version of Joey from Friends.
Which makes
no job.
Sense.
And he's this derp-faced guy.
Martian Manhunter is a big overweight.
Martian Manhunter is David Ogden Stiers, who is a fucking phenomenal actor.
But physically,
wow.
I'm
trying to think of what because okay, if you're an old schooler and you watch MASH, he was on MASH years ago. But
he was the snooty.
He was the snooty guy. Yeah, and then like fucking the Dead Zone with Anthony Michael Hall. He was like one of the main characters on that too. He's this big portly dude, was bald with a beard.
He was portly and MASH. Like that's the thing, like portly and bald. So it was like really.
And he plays like oddly enough, he plays a pretty good John, but it's just like physically he just does not match up.
No.
And then there's Fire and Ice, which was just the dumbest down version of them that you could possibly be. Fire is like a airheaded spicy Latina fashion model, and Ice is like a meteorologist who like just got powers or just discovered she had powers and stuff. And the Atom's actually played by John Kassir, who most people would remember as being the voice of the Crypt Keeper.
Yep. And he's like super like sweater vest and
sweater vest and bow tie kind of thing, nerdy, with like springy Jay Frazzle and like little glasses. And then when you put him in costume, he sort of has this like, it's basic blue, but then he has like red shoulder pads, like football looking shoulder pads.
Just.
And how he got his powers was like from a meteor rock or something, is what they say. And I'm like, what the fuck is it? And like their villain for the show is the Weather Wizard or something, a version of Weather Wizard, which is played by Miguel Ferrer.
It's not good.
It's terrible. It's like, if those of you guys who like remember Lois and Clark, like imagine Lois and Clark, but it was like made by chimpanzees or something. Like it's that sort of sensibility and that sort of like setup or whatever, but just made for the lowest common denominator.
Yeah,
like,
there was like,
think of like the old WB shows. Like that's how bad it is. Like
think about
Nick Freno, licensed teacher or something.
Think about the Fox movies of the night.
Like
the Generation
X, and the Nick Fury. Yeah.
It was bad.
It's on par with the badness of that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give the Nick Fury one thing. Hasselhoff actually looks like what the traditional Nick Fury looks like.
The Generation X is the one that I think that people... It's horrible. Because it's a bunch of like no-name actor. It's pretty bad, and it's definitely out there in full form on YouTube. Like I treat it the same way as the Fantastic Four movie, the '94 one. It's like if you want to watch that, watch this too, because it's the equal level of drizzling shits. Yeah.
But
then you gotta watch the Generation X and
the if you can find the Generation X one, it's kind of hard to find.
It is. They almost want to push that one out of existence.
The Nick Fury one I've seen a few times actually, and it's bad, but it's not as bad as like it was actually written by David Goyer, who wrote a lot of the top comic movies, and who's a douchebag, but whatever.
It was one of the better ones. I also think if you could find the Wonder Woman pilot, watch that thing too. It was interesting.
Well, as everybody knows, we'll watch anything that has Adrian Palicki in it. Yeah. We're a huge fan. Sorry, Eric. We're not going to be skewed. Really she's fantastic and gorgeous and whatever. But it is weird when you're friends with her brother. You don't want to like say too much. Like she's their hurt. Him and your sister's hurt.
But
I'm sure he's used to that by now. But no, we don't. We don't want to make like a thing. But actually, acting wise, I'm just a huge fan of her. Like, there was an episode of Criminal Minds I was watching again recently where she plays a really awesome psycho killer, like a Mickey and Mallory kind of thing. And she's a very talented actress. Talent must run their family, really, because Eric is an extremely talented writer, and she's a very talented actress. So the Pilecki family has good genes.
As far as, like, when it comes to superhero and...
Hell yeah, it's in their blood. It's in their blood.
Good stuff. But, on the DC front, both Flash and Arrow debuted this week, and both episodes I think were amazing. Flash's debut this week was their best since their opening debut season, so that's a good sign. Flash was amazing. There was a lot of interesting things that were happening on both these episodes.
Then we also, in the meantime, had watched the premiere of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. too, which we didn't get to talk about either.
Oh, yeah. That was,
which was fucking fantastic. Yeah. Now, if we did, it was on the video show and only briefly.
Yeah, that was a good one, too.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Love S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. just gets better with every episode.
Yeah. Can't wait for... Did we not watch this week's episode?
Not yet, no.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see one on the DVR, but it doesn't matter. We'll look into it. Yeah. But Flash. Okay, spoilers ahead. I'm sure we'll try not to be too spoilerific, but
I'm gonna spoil the fuck out of it. Y'all just need to not listen. Like, here's your warning: we are going to talk about the entire fucking episode, but both of them. I'm gonna let you know every fucking thing I can remember about that episode. So don't listen if you don't want to know. Yeah. Okay.
If you don't like spoilers.
And we're going to give you a 5-second reprieve to, like, walk away or, turn it off.
4, 3, 3, 2, 1,
4, 5.
Spoilers!
Okay, so it's been 6 months since the singularity that they were able to stop, and the big thing was the firestorm. What happens with that they're, because in the new clips they show there's a new guy, like it's the Jay Jackson character who everybody was trying to figure out who he is. Come to find out, he's going to be the other half of Firestorm. You find out why. So in the opening things, when they flash back to the singularity, it's back to that amazing sequence where he's running up the building and like goes into it.
They really know how to use their effects budget the right way, I tell you.
And so they go into it, and they, Flash starts, speeding around, and he goes into the singularity, like just at the very base of it, and starts speeding around, and he's going at like as fast as he can, and he's managing to stabilize it. But the problem is that he can't keep up that speed for that long.
You need to like inverse it to close it, and the only way to do that is Professor Stein says is for Ronnie and him to separate in the event horizon of the thing. And Ronnie, of course, being the absolute fucking hero that he is like, all right, let's do it. I'm sorry.
And Caitlin's just losing her shit, like, no, and he's like, I have to. Like, so of course they do that. I love the way they transform. It is one of the coolest things.
It's badass.
Just when they fuse into one. Not even when he goes full flame mode, but when they just fuse together.
Yeah, like kind of the handshake fuse thing is very cool.
Like, or they just walk and then just completely...
Yeah.
And that was awesome. He fucking full on flames out and goes up into fucking sky. And the thing is, like, Flash... Like, Barry didn't really realize what they were going to do because it was like they weren't actually, like, talking on the mic. And they go in there, and immediately Barry knows something's going to happen.
Bad times ahead.
They separate, and it just, boom, happens. And Barry manages to save one of them. And it was Stein. It wasn't...
He runs him down the side of a building, and they barely make it out.
Yeah, and they were not able to save... they were not able to save Ronnie, and Ronnie is gone. Now...
There's Attack of the Fields number 2, actually, because we didn't even mention the dream sequence.
God.
The beginning of the show, which also causes some fucking feels of doom.
Feel-rific fucking episode.
Actually, I don't want to even spoil that, because you just need to see that.
That one's good. That dream sequence is... that'll get you. That's like a sucker punch to your feels. So, everybody, of course, thinks Ronnie's gone. I tend to myself believe he's not gone. He's just...
I think he's on another Earth.
He's in Earth 2. He's in one of the multiverse Earths. But from this point on, it seems like, Barry basically decides that he, doesn't want to do this anymore as far as, like, put his friends in danger. And
he blames himself completely, and he shuts himself off from everybody. Caitlin gets a job with
Mercury.
Yeah, Mercury Labs, which is Tina McGee's lab.
Tina McGee.
And then Cisco is actually working directly with the cops now, working for Joe.
For the anti-meta
task force and shit. And he creates this really cool looking boot gun thing, which is very neat.
Yeah.
And fucking Barry is like spending his days working, spending his nights running around Central City and rebuilding the buildings that were destroyed during the singularity by himself.
Yeah, and
stopping crime.
And they're like having this Flash day, and Barry doesn't want to go to it. Like Barry's just like, no. He's like, because I wasn't the hero. I wasn't the hero.
I couldn't save Ronnie.
Yeah. Well, not even that. He's like, I wasn't the hero.
Yeah.
Like, had it, Flash and Ronnie not been there, had Stein and Ronnie not been there, he wouldn't have been able to, fix it. So it becomes the episode is very heavy of Barry just being like, I can do this on my own. And, it gets really interesting. He's very, closed off from everybody.
In the episode, when you see Barry at work, even he's different there. They call him in to look at a crime scene, and he's distant and cold, and he barely speaks to Joe.
He's on time doing the work and gone and stuff. But it's interesting because the person they call in to for the body is actually Al
Rothstein.
Al Rothstein,
which DC fans will know as Atom Smasher, which is a hero character, originally Nuklon back in the Infinity Inc. in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. And this will be... And
he's played in this by former WWE superstar Edge, Adam Copeland, star of Haven, and actually a pretty damn fine actor.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like they portray him as a fireman, at least in this world, and he was strangled to death by like some very large hands, is what they say.
They're like, he got choked the fuck out.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
Barry has confrontation eventually, like they talk him into going to the Flash Day. There's some chicanery and like basically just being stubborn and shit.
Yeah.
And he ends up having a confrontation with the Atom Smasher of the show, which is kind of portrayed as an evil character, or at least a character who wants to kill Barry.
Yeah, and it's interesting. They do a really good job with Atom Smasher. Like the suit looks really closely tied to the comics, and it looks really good. I liked the helmet, how the helmet worked. The growing was really interesting. I think the growing was a more unique way. I've ever seen people.
His powers are based atomic based or nuclear based in the comics, but they modified them to basically be like he absorbs radiant nuclear energy.
Yeah.
And that's how he does his growing and his power and stuff. And so like that's interesting. And the fight sequence is good. And basically he just kicks the shit out of Barry.
Yeah, Barry gets his ass whooped and stuff.
And they use this to sort of, convince him that you need to, accept working, with the team again.
Yeah. And I mean, at first he didn't want to. Like, he confronts Atom Smasher again and nearly dies. Like, it's like getting choked out and stuff. Luckily, they were able to set off the alarms, which kind of saved his ass. But
while all this is going on, he gets a visit from Wells' attorney, who's handling his estate, and Wells left Star Labs to Barry.
Yeah, like left everything.
Everything to him, yeah. And Barry's like, I want basically nothing to do with it. And the guy's like, well, this is a pre-recorded, video message on this flash drive that you need to watch. And, like, once this is watched, like, it can be taken care of from here. But he's like, until it is, like, if it doesn't, then the shit goes into, like...
Yeah, basically Star Labs gets sold and shit. Like, so it's either watch it or you lose everything.
So he doesn't want to do it, and like he has had no contact with Caitlin, I think, at all since shit happened, and she's kind of moved on, and Cisco is trying to drag her back in. Yeah. And she's like, I can't be in Star Labs because it's just a reminder of like the fact that when Ronnie asked me to go away and make a new start, that I said no, and I had to stay here to be with you guys and shit.
Yeah, it was really rough. There was a lot of stuff, but she was like basically, I'll watch it with you. There was the whole like I miss you too.
They watch it and it's interesting. It's like it's more Tom Cavanaugh, which like this is the only thing about like fucking Reverse Flash getting defeated is that there's no Tom Cavanaugh this season, and like but there's less of him. It seems like it to me.
From what they were saying, Tom Cavanaugh's gonna have a nice role.
I just don't see how. Like, I don't know.
So this is how they are gonna do it, or this is one of the rumors that has been talked about. Wells isn't dead.
Okay.
If Reverse Flash is erased from time...
Yeah, it's a paradox. Like, the original Wells isn't dead. But
the original Wells is never dead.
That should have popped up very quickly.
I don't know. Like, that's what I said. That's one of the rumors of how it'll get done. But so they end up watching it, and it's, it's Wells. And he starts talking about, the thing with him and Barry. And it was like, raising him, he was like, we weren't really enemies and stuff. Yeah. It was like... You can tell he wants to hate Barry.
But he has a hard time doing it.
Yeah. It's like he had to create his enemy to get him there. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, he grew to like him. And it was
this really is hard. Another prime example of Tom Cavanaugh's acting ability. Like, I can't say enough about that fucker. I can tell you what, like, he was the best casting they've done in this show. And this is a show full of perfect casting.
Yeah.
And he is by far the best because there is just... He has an ability to be so believable.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why we are going to see him in this season. Really, and I think we're going to see a good chunk of him. But they have a lot to do with establishing the multiverse and establishing Legends, tomorrow. But... he basically shows up and he's like, I'm going to do something for you. I'm going to give you the thing you want the most, but you're not going to be happy.
It's not going to make you happy.
It's not going to make you happy. You're going to like, and he's like, basically tells him to erase everything up until this point. And then he takes off his glasses and he's like, I being, Harrison Wells of sound mind and everything, confessed to basically killing Barry's mother. Like, does the full, complete confession. And
they take it to the DA. The DA accepts it. It holds up. They take it through court and they let Barry's dad out.
Yeah.
And everybody is super happy. And this is one of the points which I disagree with a little bit, but I understand what they're doing, and it makes complete story sense or whatever, but it's just like realistic.
From a Phil's perspective, being a dad
perspective,
yourself.
It's bullshit. Like, I know as a father myself, I would never do this, but like, he gets out and they're having the party or whatever, and like, he's like, Henry's like, he seems a little reticent about shit, and like, Barry pulls him aside and stuff, and he's like, you're not staying, are you? And he's like, no, like, you can't be fully who you are if I'm here. And so I need to go away, but like, I'll be here when you need me. And I'm like, okay, you've been in prison for 14 years. Spend 2 weeks with your kid and then leave. Like, you know what I mean? He's like, immediately the day of, he's like, I gotta bounce. Like, I just don't see that.
I do. I understand what he's doing, because it's like, the moment he's there, automatically Barry's more willing to give up time being the Flash than he is,
I get that, but you can spend a little bit of time with your kid.
But he can't, though.
But he can. Like, that's a choice. It's not like, it's being noble, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But it's like, 14 years, you're going to want to spend some time with your child.
And he does. You can tell he wants to more than anything, but he's like, that's precious time that Barry needs to be the Flash, especially with the fact that like Atom Smasher and all that shit's happening right now. It's like, he's like, you can't be preoccupied with like me. Plus, I guess too, I can kind of understand is it's like, as much as he wants to be close to Barry and stuff like that, it's still really hard, because no matter what, people are still going to kind of look at him. He needs a fresh start, and he's not going to be able to get
I don't disagree with any of that. I'm just saying, spend a week with your fucking kid.
If his
2 days with him.
If his kid wasn't the Flash and wasn't trying to fight a giant radiation-sucking ass kicker, he probably might have, but,
hang out until it's over with. Get in the background, then go fishing with the motherfucker. Like, he's been waiting 14 years to have time with you. Yeah. Let it happen, and then let him do his job.
Yeah. But, like I said, I wholeheartedly understand what he's doing. And then it gets interesting, because it's like, everybody really much decides that they're going to help Barry whether he wants it or not, and like, this is very much, because it's like, I think they kind of did a little bit of a change in the writing for Iris.
Yeah, she comes off less screechy and annoying.
Less you lied to me, bitchy kind of thing. This one, it's very much like she's come to terms with what everything is. Like, she's still really sad and upset about Eddie, but as far as like Barry and everything like that, I think it's like she accepted it over the 6 months period.
Yeah, but like, I think that's probably a direct result of like the backlash of people being like, okay, she's shrewish and we're starting to hate her, so you need to change this.
You're going down a Lana path really quick, and they were like, ooh, we got to fix that.
And I give kudos to the writing team and for that, because it was becoming a Lana situation. Yeah. And I think that they're smart enough to know, like, okay, we want her to be a big part of this, and she needs to be a big part of this, so we can't have her be hateable.
Yeah.
And she was becoming very, very hateable.
And I think this is also something that, writing-wise, will also transfer over into Arrow, because after something I saw in the episode, I think the writers have taken some cues from things and have made a really hard decision. And I think I have an idea of what's going to happen, but we'll see.
One of the greatest moments in the entire show is that when they're talking about Atom Smasher, or before they even call him that, Stein names him.
Yeah, Stein names him. He's like
this Atom Smasher, because he's atomic and he smashes.
And he's like doing all this stuff, and
I love you. Like,
and he like hugs him,
gives him a big hug and shit. It's such like an awesome little team moment or whatever. And it's so Victor Garber being awesome, and I don't know the actor's name playing Cisco, but I love that guy. He's fantastic.
And I love the fact, and they actually do a thing too with him, like showcasing his ever-growing powers and stuff, because they showed this thing where it was like he almost had like a vision as far as and it's really interesting developing his abilities. But they do a really good job of like really concreting the team back together, and they, you know, I also think too they did a really good job as kind of softening Stein up a little too.
Yeah, he comes off less as like arrogant, more as like the grandfather figure sort of.
Yeah,
like
I love the part too with the kissing. He's like, "Oh, I'm so glad we like," because like Firestorm like comes down and like kisses Caitlyn and stuff in the dream sequence, and like kisses Caitlyn, and then like you see Stein. He's like, "Oh, I'm so glad we separated." He's like, "One time, I make one mistake, one time," and he's like, "Oh,
that works out well." Yeah. By the end of the show, everything works out interestingly. Like Atom Smasher, you know, Barry does a final confrontation with Atom Smasher based on ideas that Sisko and Stein have about how to defeat him, and essentially they trap him inside of a nuclear reactor and then turn the juice up
just
completely,
overload
like, into overload. So they overload him with radiation, and it overloads his system, and he it kills him basically.
Yeah.
And Barry is like, I don't understand, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you killing me? Why did you kill yourself? Why, the other version
he's like,
of
I'm
yourself,
sorry, I didn't want to do this. Like, but and then Atom Smasher's like, I had no choice. Like, he said if I killed you, he would take me home.
And Barry's like, who? And he's just, his last word is Zoom.
Yeah, and it sucks because I
fucking love Atom Smasher.
Yeah, I love Atom Smasher too.
Atom Smasher is one of my favorite DC characters.
But this is also too one of those things. It's Flash, and they've already fucked with time.
Yeah.
So it makes things never truly concrete. We don't know if he'll stay dead or anything like that. So the team gets back together. Have that final thing. Sisko debuts the new costume. Where they basically, where the Flash symbol, he puts the white background based off seeing that from the future stuff, which actually looks really good. I like that they, did that. It was bold and subtle at the same time. Like, it was like you didn't need to upgrade the costume at all except for that. That was that thing. They
made some other little small mods to it,
but it wasn't like
you really look to see it. But
but it's like
I think it was more of like a comfortability thing, probably.
Yeah. But so they're talking about like, oh, hey, we re-updated everything in Star Labs so nobody can just walk in here anymore and all that stuff. And then
somebody just walks right
in. And they're all like, what the fuck? And like, they all... they're
like, who the hell are you? And he's like, my name is Jay Garrick, and your world is in trouble.
Yeah, and it's like...
And then... the room filled with my semen.
Yeah.
Because Jay Garrick, those of you who don't know, is the Golden Age Flash, or the Flash of Earth 2.
Fattest nut.
And the fattest nut just got busted because I am a huge, huge Golden Age guy.
And the next episode is called The Flash of Two Worlds, and they talk all about Jay Garrick. He gets the helmet back.
Yeah, in the preview, like, he puts the helmet on, and I'm like...
He just kept busting the load. Like, Okay, so then we transfer over to Arrow.
Which I have nothing to say about because I didn't watch it.
Yeah, because he didn't watch it because he's not watching a single episode of Arrow.
Well, no, that's not true. I watched the first 6 episodes of it.
Okay, first 6 episodes. But he's like...
And then I lost all fucks.
Yeah, he didn't go past that. But he had the same problem I had with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah. Like, I couldn't give a single fuck in the beginning. I still, to this day, the first episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. sucks. Like
first half of the first season's rough to get.
I would say about 75% of that first season sucks. It wasn't until like the last thing that they really got good. But so it takes place, after so much time when Ollie and Felicity basically are like, we're done and we're gonna go be a happy couple, and everything gets left on Diggle, Canary, and Speedy actually. And Diggle gets a costume, which is an interesting costume. They found, like, they've leaked through different things that the costume was made by Sisko. So he has a gun, which is like a kind of like a transforming gun that shoots different ammunition. Most of it. Yeah, mostly non-lethal. Some actually, I think, are lethal if he needs to be. But he has the helmet, which is actually not a full helmet either. It, like, watching the episode, it's almost kind of like a half helmet.
Weird.
Yeah, it's interesting. And it has the visor, which is retractable and stuff. It's not as bad. Like, when you see him in action with it and stuff, it's not as bad.
It still looks pretty Magneto-rific.
It's still kind of, yeah. But they're doing an okay job, but you can tell they're kind of getting their asses kicked a little bit by this new group of people that are destroying things. There's a Cord reference, Cord Technologies, or Cord Industries.
Which I do not understand considering all the shit they went through with that, but whatever.
So, whatever. That happens. They basically kind of say they're getting their asses handed and they need help, and they really don't. Like, you can tell Diggle does not want to, based off what happened last season, contact Ollie at all. But as you go back to the Ollie and Felicity stuff, they're living in happy suburbia, happy all types of stuff, and she can't cook and he can, and they're hanging out with the neighbors, and basically you find out that Ollie is going to propose to Felicity. Like, he has a ring and he's gonna propose and marry her and stuff. And just that perfect timing, his sister and Laurel show up and basically are like, we need your help, like, bad. And so he reluctantly, because Felicity is all about it, he goes back to not be the Arrow, but like, just, we'll go see what you're dealing with, and if I can help in any way, I will. Mm-hmm. And during this period, Diggle was not happy because he's like, you basically went behind my back and got Ollie. And he's like, so that's really rough. But you come to find out that the whole time they've been gone, Felicity's kind of been lying and helping the group the whole time.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he's like, what the shit? Like, this was your idea to get away and do all this stuff. So it's a really interesting thing as far as that. She mentions that Cisco made him a new suit, and he's like, I'm not putting on a suit. Like, no, like, that's done. And you see the new bad guy, the new season bad guy, Damien Dark, and played by Neil
McDonough.
And man, he does an amazing job.
I did see a few minutes of that.
He just has a great,
he's a good bad guy.
He's a great bad guy. He's fucking.
Except for that time he was a weird Irish M. Bison.
Even then, he still was a good bad guy, but that accent was horrible. But
everything about that was horrible.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, it was Lana as Chun-Li. But they go and they start finding where the bad guy, like the main group is. They go in and investigate, and there's a bunch of the guys, and then all of a sudden you see Damien Dark comes out. Now, they don't know that he's Damien Dark. And this is where you get a first glimpse of an ability. Damien basically sucks the fucking life force out of some guy, like basically touches him and just drains him of his life and shit and kills him. The girls immediately jump into action, more so Speedy. Mm-hmm. And while they're fighting, you tend to see Speedy losing it. Like, she kind of goes into like kill mode. And so there's a little bit of issues from that about the whole coming back from the Lazarus pit. Yeah, that'll make people crazy. But when you see the thing, the ability happen, Ollie's face goes really wide-eyed and, like, oh shit. And when the girls jump, he was like, no, don't do that. So they get back and they're like, oh, what the hell? And they're talking about it, and they're like, oh, like meta? And he's like, no, it's not a meta ability. And they're like, well, what the hell is it? He's like, it's a mystical ability. He's like, I have seen some shit. And they're like, it's like magic. Were you going to tell us about this? And he was like, that was Damien Dark. And they were like, oh shit. So it gets really interesting. Now, one of the best things I think about this episode, besides the new suit, which he does eventually put on the new suit, it looks badass, is the Easter egg from hell that they... Like, I went running down to the basement.
I was down here by myself because I was shutting myself off from it so you could enjoy it. And I hear, like, the TV pause. Basement door open. Well, the fucking Hal Jordan was on Arrow just now.
They showed Hal Jordan. Now, when I say they showed Hal Jordan, it was a flashback scene, back 4 years when Ollie was doing his crazy thing. And they're in Coast City. And Ollie's chasing down, like, drug dealers and shit and, like, kicking the shit out of them. Well, they're in a bar, and as like you see Ollie sitting, and as they go to like pan around the thing, they pan around a guy who's wearing a military flight jacket that has the American flag insignia on the arm, and on the chest it says Jordan. And then he walks out, like, and everybody knew who the fuck that was. Like,
they want so badly to put Green Lantern in the show.
So badly. Like, they have made so many references on both Flash and Arrow. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, so many coast cities, Ferris Air. They've mentioned that Jordan went missing. Now they just showcased him, but without showing his face, so they can still cast whoever they need to if they were going to do it.
If they
but
can
like,
let them do it.
If they would let them
they
do
keep
it.
asking, and the DC keeps saying no.
Yeah, and it's like ridiculous. Like, they keep taunting us so bad with this, and it was like they literally just showed Hal Jordan.
It's crazy because you can't have Arrow without Hal being in the mix somewhere because they're so closely
together. Yeah, and it's like same with Barry too.
Yeah,
like,
Barry and Hal are very close too.
Barry, Hal, and Ollie are like, not necessarily Ollie and Barry, but in this one they are. Yeah. But in this thing, like, they are like good friends. Like, that's why
Hal and Barry have always, even the Silver Age especially, are very close.
Yeah, and like Ollie's, interesting. Yeah. Ollie and Hal were the fucking, they had their own comic series.
Brave and the Bold shit.
Brave and the Bold.
Green Arrow, Green Lantern thing,
And like, you can't not, like, they just keep teasing the shit out of this so hard. And I think they're doing it. They're constantly doing it to like show fan reaction and be like, look, it's they want it. They want it so bad. You got to give it to us and stuff. Because it's still very up in the air as far as in the movies of which Green Lantern they're using. If they decide to go with a John in the movies, I think they should let him use Hal in the series. But we don't know. But anyways, that was awesome. That was amazing. In the thing, Amanda Waller shows back up. She drugs fucking Ollie and puts him on a plane. And they basically drop him back off on the island again. Like, kick him out of a plane, drop him off on the island. And they're like, hey, there's some sketchy shit going on here. We need you to recon for us. Bye. And just boot his ass off into a fucking thing. It's shitty. And he immediately gets caught. As soon as, like, his parachute goes off and he lands on the island, he gets fucking... assaulted by some merc type guy, and they're like, who the fuck are you? And then it goes back to, back to the whole thing. Basically, Damien Dark has the stuff to make cluster bombs. And there's a new speeding bullet train coming from Central City to what they've now renamed Star City in the wake of the Ray Palmer death. His thing exploding and dying. And now they have no mayor. It's basically run by a committee. Damien Dark shows up to one of the committee meetings and was like, you're going to let me do what I want or, I'll kill you all. And then they basically tell him to kind of like go fuck himself. And he's like, okay. And he starts killing all of them. Yeah. By the time it's over, the last one is Detective Lance. Yeah. And they try to kill him, but Laurel, saves his ass. You see some mystical stuff as far as like some like blood sacrificing from Damien Dark. You see what would have to be one of the craziest fucking oh shit that person's working with him, in that you come to find out that Detective Lance is working for Damien Dark, which is, but it doesn't seem like he wants to. It's a reluctant thing where it's like, I'll kill your daughter or I'll do something fucking fucked up. But they find out what the intended target is. They, costume up. Ollie puts on the new costume, and it looks awesome. I like it. And they go and they set up the train, and they're, getting on the train. Ollie takes out a guard or so. Damien Dark's on the train. He confronts Damien Dark. He shoots an arrow at him. And Damien basically just uses magic to just, like, hold it right in time. Just holds it right there. Ollie shoots 2 more arrows. Boom, boom. Just, like, telekinesis style. Just holds all 3. And then basically motions for them to fling back at him.
Yeah, this is actually the only part of it that I got to see.
Yeah.
But I give, like, Stephen Amell a lot of credit, like, for awesomeness. Because when Damien redirects the arrows, he just bam,
use the bow to like spin and knock the arrows out of them,
like it's
away
like
from him.
completely as if it is like a second motion, like it's completely a thing that is what he does.
Yeah, it's like no, it's cool.
It's cool. Whatever.
This.
Fuck you,
yeah.
cocksmoker.
Yeah.
Like
and like they get into it, and because Davian's like, "Who are you? You can't be the arrow. The arrow's dead." And so they go fight, and I hate to say it, but Ollie gets his ass handed to him. Like Davian is, you can tell, is stronger, is like physically stronger, and like so much to the point that he like hits Ollie through a pole, and it like bends the shit out of it. And he puts him up against the thing and starts to begin to do the hand motion on his chest where he's like draining the life force out of him. And luckily enough, Diggle shows up and shoots him in the back with like a trank type thing.
Yeah.
And this is where they basically are like, yeah, it was Davian Dark and this is magic and we're kind of fucked. And
this is like setting the scene for the Constantine stuff that happens later in the season.
And so they hijack a feed, and Ollie re-announces himself to the world and basically was like, these people tried to help save your world and I'm going to join with them. And he's like, yeah, the arrow is dead. He's like, but I am the Green Arrow. Yeah. And like does the whole like, and this is supposed to be the end of the episode, but then they flash forward, first they're in the apartment that Ollie was sharing with his sister, but she's been staying with Laurel, so she gave it to Ollie and Felicity. And Ollie still has the ring, and he puts it in this like jar of like those clear beads, and you see it, and they do like this really, so this is going to have meaning. They do this slow panning down where they see the ring in the jar, like in the bowl thing, and then they immediately flash forward to 6 months down the line. And you see it's daytime. Ollie is standing in a graveyard in front of a new fresh grave, and he's in a suit and he's in tears. Barry shows up and he's like, I'm sorry, I missed the funeral. And Ollie's like, Zoom, and he was like, yeah. And Barry's basically like, I'm so sorry. And I mean,
you think it's Felicity, don't you?
I think it's Felicity, because this is something that's gone on as far as like the Olicity thing is like, yeah, she's a great character. Love the actress to death. Love the character to death. But the thing is, that romance,
it can't be.
It can't be. She needs to die because it needs to propel him to becoming the true Green Lantern.
She's like Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, she needs to be Green Arrow,
Which is weird because she's kind of like, before they got together, she's more like the Chloe, the character that didn't exist before but makes so much sense in the universe. And then when you put them together, though, she becomes like, you're gonna die, in my head, because it's
she is the quintessential Chloe, Gwen Stacy type thing, and it's like, you already know who he ends up with,
right?
Like, we know
if they follow.
Yeah, they follow with the thing. That's where it happens. But it's like, in the scene, he's in tears, and he's like, whoever. My main thing is, I believe it to be Felicity, but there's also a possibility of it being Speedy.
Yeah, especially considering what's going on with her reaction to coming back from the Lazarus Pit.
Diggle.
Or Diggles.
But I think
Dirk Diggles.
But I think it would make more sense if it's Felicity.
Yeah.
Because Diggle, they've put a lot of energy into with like the family, the kid, all that stuff. Plus, I still believe he's going to eventually become Guardian, which makes sense. You've got, I don't think he would shed tears like that for Detective Lance.
Probably not. No.
Probably not. So it's either his sister or it's Felicity, and to me, Felicity makes sense.
Yeah.
As far as story-wise. So, and that's where they leave off with the episode, and it's a very trying thing.
It's good
very
stuff.
and that's one of the things where I said where it takes in with the writers, because this has been one of a controversial thing, because a lot of the fans, as much as they like her character, are basically saying the Olicity thing is taking away from the story of the show. Like, it's like they're spending too much time on this romance, and it doesn't, where...
Yeah, that often happens in these kind of shows, yeah.
Where Iris was, being too much of a focal point and being a bitch and stuff, or Lana was too much of a focal point and all that stuff. Like, see, that's the thing. So I think they're like, okay, we've got to do something about this. And unfortunately,
it's like, okay, with the situation with Lana and Smallville, it's like, it makes less sense because, like, with continuity, Lana is kind of a footnote in Clark's history. Like, she is his first love girlfriend or whatever, but it never goes any further than that. It's like they're friends forever or whatever, but, like, she's a very different character. But then in Smallville, they made her such a fucking focal point.
Yeah, in the movie, she was like a blip. She was in the second one.
In the comics, she's a blip. She's a footnote. Like, she's a supporting character. Yeah. She's married to Pete. Like, she's a supporting character and a good one, but she's never, like, romantically, her and Clark went to a certain point as kids and never went any further.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, oh, this is the one that got away either. It was just like, this was my puppy love, and then it was over with.
They did that in the movie with Reeve. Yeah. And his mom, who was like, that was the thing.
But then with, like, Iris and Flash, it makes sense that she's such a heavy thing because she is the one that he ends up with, and it is more like Lois is to Clark than, Lana would be. Yeah. But they did make her shrewish and awful, but they seem to be, like we said, going back on that. But, both, like, it sounds like Arrow was fantastic. Flash was absolutely fucking brilliant. Like,
they've lightened the tone. I think they learned from last season, and they've gone towards more of Flash of lightening up the tone of it. Like, it doesn't need to be so dark. Like, But, plus, especially with the, the building up to Heroes, or Legends of Tomorrow.
Yes, which looks very promising.
And October 26th, Monday, October 26th, is the debut of Supergirl.
Yes. Which we will definitely be looking forward to.
Yes, I've already seen it because I watched it when it leaked.
I want to do talk a little bit about something I just found out today. So we're not going to spend a huge amount of time on it because we haven't actually reviewed any of the books. Like, we've actually just read through the first issue, but we want to read through some more. But Joe St. Pierre sent us a message and wanted to take a look at the Kickstarter for his book called New Zodiacs, which is so far a four-issue series. But basically, he's reimagining the Zodiac characters as heroes.
Yeah, the characters. 12 different characters that channel the cosmic energies of the Zodiac. Basically, from a little bit of how it was expressed in the first one, it's like apparently the Zodiac is there's a lot of cosmic energy there, and it's energy that can be tapped into if the certain person is aware, like transcendent enough to become one with that. And it seems like that's where the characters are going. Like you said, we were reading the first book. I definitely want to read the rest of them. Yeah, because I want to see how each story goes. And we're going to try to read the 4 of them. I actually may just order paper copies because I prefer it usually. But it looks very interesting, and there is currently a Kickstarter going on. They're doing the first 4 as a collected graphic novel trade paperback. Oh, you won. Right now, there's 19 days to go on the Kickstarter. The goal is $4,250 for $4,250, and right now they've got 3,100, so they're doing pretty good. Yeah. There's a great video where Joe goes into explanation of what the world is and each character that's been introduced so far, and eventually it will be all 12 Zodiac. Right now they've done the first 4. Yep. So it looks really interesting, and I want to definitely be a part of the continuation of it. So, well, the one thing though that I've seen is the characters are very different. Yes. Each character different. From themselves are very different. Yeah. Yes. Like each one is is an origins type story. But I think the first 4 are Sagittarius, Pisces, Leo, and Aquarius. Yeah. And they are very unique. Yeah, Aquarius is like a cyberspace sort of character. He's like a hacker in this sort of post-apocalyptic, well, not post-apocalyptic. I would say like 1984 sort of world, like Big Brother's watching you, kind of corporations rule sort of thing. Matrix, almost Matrix movies type of thing. It's a very Robin Hood of cyberspace. And like the design of the character is very, very cool. I like it. The artwork, we're reading through this, beautiful, absolutely fantastic. The
Pisces character is called Cricket, and she's kind of, it appears to be a paranormal character. She's a paranormal psychologist, and so it's like a horror sci-fi sort of thing.
Yep. She has the ability to kind of like tap in and talk to like the dead and see them and stuff.
And then Sagittarius is called Multa, and it's basically like he describes it as an homage to kaiju movies and comics, and it's sort of like a big lava monster kind of a thing.
But he's the last bastion of a civilization in the galaxy.
Yeah, he's like protecting the last bastion of humanity basically. And then the Leo character is the Lion, and it's like a Cro-Magnon man who is like sleeping underneath an inverse pyramid, basically.
Yeah, and he's believed to be like immortal, I guess. Like the ability of like immortality.
That one's very intriguing.
And he looks very much like he's a bruiser, like a very like one of those like I can bleed but I can't die, and just. The first stargazer,
yeah, a near immortal who's lived tens of thousands of years, or has he, basically?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of different creators that have contributed to it. Names that are easily recognizable, like Joe Sinnott and Ernie Colan and Joe Rubenstein, Laura Martin, Fred Hembeck, which I'm a huge fan of his, and just everything that I've seen so far, it looks gorgeous. There's a lot of really cool different Kickstarter incentives on there.
Yeah.
So I might be actually backing this one. I don't usually have a lot of extra cash to back things, but it looks interesting enough to where I think I might be able to do it.
Yeah, I think once I get my first check from my new job.
Yay. That's right. So, yeah, everybody go to Kickstarter and look for New Zodiacs. It's Zodiacs with an X at the end, Zodiax.
Yes.
And we will be sharing the link and talking about it more and probably reviewing the first 4 issues here in the near future.
Yeah, because this is definitely up like my street. I've always, with you two, we've always been intrigued by things with like, I know Todd McFarlane did the Zodiac,
which I love,
which was really cool. Unfortunately, it never went past a certain thing. But I always like when they mess with the Zodiac because it is there's a lot of room to play with. There's a lot of room to work.
True.
So I always like to see people's interpretations of this. And so far, it seems that they're all very unique and very different, which I like.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued to see. Not to mention, I'm not going to lie, but I want to see what they do with the Libra.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It's going to be
What better way to lead into talking about our birthdays?
Yeah, bitches.
Very quickly, we'll talk about our birthdays, then I have one more thing to talk about, and then we'll wrap it up.
Oh, God. We didn't get to talk about the dolls.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that at some point. But our birthdays are this coming weekend. Now that we're recording, this is the 9th. Your birthday is Sunday the 11th, which on that day, originally both of us were scheduled to be at the Ohio Touring Comic Show, and it will actually just be me because you are starting a brand new job.
Yep.
Which, real world's always got to come first, unfortunately.
Yeah. Being a broke college kid.
Yeah.
I do need, I lucked out and got a really, so far, I start work tomorrow, actually. I managed to get a really pretty good job.
It seems promising.
Seems promising. It's only 3 days a week. It's the Friday, Saturday, and Sundays I'm off. I'll be working 12 hours, which is going to be a little rough. But it's doing a job that I've done plenty of times. It's easy enough. It's a material stuff that's a lot easier to handle. And I'm getting paid more than I've ever been paid with my other jobs. So this will actually be really good. I'll be able to fund more things. And they seem really cool about giving me time off if I give them enough, notice. So this isn't one of those like, oh, it's the end.
And so because of that, we didn't get to do our usual big birthday celebration like we normally do.
Yeah, we did it this past weekend. And did
we went to Endless Shrimp at Red Lobster, which was awesome.
I did it twice.
Yes.
I went with my mama the night before. Yeah.
I had so many fucking shrimp, I think I should have turned into a shrimp.
I think I shit a shrimp, like a fucking 3-ton shit.
All my poo was shrimp shaped. It was shrimp ligerency, and it was wonderful. And then we also exchanged gifts. I got you the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive White Man Bat.
Oh my god!
Which I got you this time because normally you're the one who gets me on the bigger present and whatnot. But this one time I actually was in the position to do better.
He waits till I'm a fucking broke college kid to try and one up me. It's cool.
It's not about one upping. It's just I finally get to get the good one.
Yeah. Just wait till Christmas, motherfucker.
But no, I enjoyed mine too. I got a red Parademon from the DC Classics line, which is awesome. And but I'll be celebrating in full force this Sunday at the Ohio Touring Comic Show, 2800 Presidential Drive in Fairborn, right across the street from Wright State University. Yep. I'll be there. Matt Metzger will be there. Merry Mercenary Cosplay will be there. The boys from Roma Collectibles will be there. I think Rodney Fike's also going to be there, which I'm a fan of his artwork. And all kinds of fun. It's going to be $2 to get in the door, so no big thing on that. Free parking. Door prizes, all kinds of really cool door prizes. You can see everything on their Facebook page, Ohio Toy and Comic Show on Facebook.
Bring lots of money to buy the toys.
Yes, because neither one of us had shit for money last year, and it was just fucking torturously painful to sit there and see that stuff.
So, like any of you guys that, maybe love us enough and want to be, really cool and show up to the toy show and buy, maybe us a birthday present, that'd be cool. You can give mine to Todd because I'll be working my ass off. So, that'd be a solid
I'll be working in a different way.
Yeah. That'd be a solid thing, but, you guys don't have to.
I'll be working and harassing Matt Metzger as hard as I possibly can. My ass is mine, Pogues.
Yeah.
Now, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. It's going to be back-to-back cons for me, too, because the weekend after, on the 17th, I'll be driving it on back to Michigan for the Redford Comic-Con.
I'll be LARPing.
And you'll be LARPing out in the wilds of Indiana, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be visiting all my Michigan peeps and hanging out with Jared Blanton and the amazing John Callell, who runs the show, and all kinds of other fantastic people. There's going to be a big walkthrough horror haunt experience there. Going to be 2 big rooms.
Nice.
It's going to be cosplay. There's going to be all kinds of cool shit. All the comics and toys and whatever that you could get your shake a stick at. But it's going to be on the 17th.
So all you northwestern Ohio people and Michigan people, definitely check that out.
Yes, come on out and
also bring us presents too if you want. Yeah, that's cool. Just give me all my presents.
Present solicitation.
Presents, all the presents.
Well, I've already been promised by
buy me things.
I've already been promised by Stephanie Maynard of the Drunk Darks podcast that she's got a big birthday hug for me waiting. And since she is an absolutely gorgeous lady, I'm looking forward to that.
Well, you should tell her that she has to give you a second one for me.
No, for you.
Yeah. Todd will accept my hug.
And I do believe that Chrissy has hinted that she might be bringing some fresh baked goods, like cookies and whatnot for me. So
I better get something.
I'll bring home somebody. Don't worry.
I better.
I'm really looking forward to it, John.
I'm going to go ahead and say this now. If you don't come back with anything, I'm leaving the show. I'm not even shitting. I will be like, bye guys.
I'll bring you back a package of Nutter Butters that I bought at the gas station.
No. I better get something. I'll be pissed off.
I had an absolute blast the last time I went out for the Taylortown show.
Something from JR.
And John runs a good show. This is only a 1-day show. The last one was a 2-day show. This is just a 1-day show.
Is it Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah, I'm going to be staying at the same hotel, which I enjoyed the hotel quite a bit.
Yeah,
it's very inexpensive. And then luckily enough, because of my Hotels.com travel points, it's free. I think I paid $6 in tax for the room.
No, it kind of sucks that was the free one.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to save that one for Lexington.
Hey, you never know, but as many cons as we're doing these days, I might build up another one quickly. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. And John has actually come out and said that in November 21st, they're going to be doing another Taylortown show because of the success of the first one and hopefully the success of this one too. And I have been invited to go to that one. And so if I can possibly swing it, I will go out for that one too because I do enjoy the Michigan people.
I mean, maybe I'll show up.
And if you can, that would be
I'll
awesome.
have the Moonis.
Yeah.
And if it's a 1-day thing, I can just be like, hey.
It probably will be, yeah. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. So if you are in the Dayton area this weekend, you want to come out and hang out with me, that would be awesome. And if you're in the Northern Ohio, or is it Northern Ohio?
Northern
Western Ohio, Michigan area, come on out for the Redford show. We'll have a really good time.
Or Northern Indiana area, too, like you Michiana people,
Michiganders.
Don't call them that again. Oh, no,
I don't know terminology. I've never even been to Michigan until
I dated a girl from the Michiana area, and it was like they even refer to it that on the news. Like if you live in that area, they literally refer to it as the Michiana area, but they all sound like they're from Fargo. Weird. I'm like, what? So Northern Indiana, Southern Michigan.
It makes sense that the Toledo peeps sound like that too. Like I have friends from Akron, Canton, Toledo. They kind of sound like that too.
And then Wisconsin people sound like they're Canadian.
Wisconsin.
I got a few friends from Wisconsin.
I'm really looking forward to it, and we'll close it with this. The other night I was flipping channels, and I wanted to mention that if you guys, I don't know if you guys have seen the new mask pictures, but I do have a new mask out, and Dave's gonna be working on one for himself too.
Yep.
Debut. I'll be wearing my new mask at the show this weekend, and yours will be hopefully debuting here soon.
Yep.
But I want to mention, I was flipping channels the other night, and I stumbled upon TLC, which I generally avoid because most of the shows are about, like, the fattest fatty that ever fattied or whatever.
Or the richest bitches.
Or the richest bitch that ever bitched. Like, but this one, I had to stop because the name of the show was The Man with the 80-pound... it was an 80-pound groin.
80-pound groin.
And it was another one. Yeah, it was another case of that weird scrotum condition where it makes your scrotum...
You watched the first one.
Yeah, I did, and it was horrifying because that guy didn't have an 80-pound scrotum. He had like a 180-pound scrotum.
Yeah.
And was carrying the equivalent of like 2 children swinging from his nuts at all times. But this poor bastard, I watched this show, and okay, I do have sympathy for anybody who's going through like this horrifying medical shit that really can't be explained in this sort of thing. But like, as a guy, and you could attest to this too, if anything starts to be off with your junk, aren't you immediately like hey, fuck, hey, we need to do something here. Something's going on.
This one's even a quarter bigger than the other one. What's going on?
Yeah, like, if mine gets a half size bigger, I'm at the doctor right then. And like the one video I watched on YouTube, and I didn't actually say this in the show, but the one video I watched on YouTube about it when they were interviewing, they said that he went to the doctor, and the doctors were like, "You need to lose weight," and I'm like, "In your balls?"
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
How do you slim your scrotum?
I can't have this like this second Big Mac because it's gonna go straight to my testicles.
I mean, every time I eat a piece of bacon, I'm like, well, there it goes, straight to my nutsack.
Yeah, like it's. I don't think it works like how it does with like women in the sense of like you get a little plumper, your boobs get bigger. You know, because
that'd be the equivalent of like you ladies out there, like one of your pussy lips gets like really, really big, and they're like, I just need to lose some weight.
I had a couple donuts, and my labia is a little bit bigger.
My clitoris has grown to 4 times in size.
Labia majora is like way bigger. Like it doesn't work like.
They said like he went in when it was 5 pounds, and they were like lose weight, and he lost 50 pounds, but it didn't get any smaller. Obviously,
it gained 5 more pounds. Yeah. It's like,
and they were still like, well, you need to lose more weight. And it's like I just don't think this is the problem, and so it ballooned up to 80 pounds, and they had to end up doing a surgery.
Oh, God.
And he was a big fella.
Oh, he was a big boy.
A very, very big fella. And not only did they have to do the surgery to remove his 80-pound scrotum and try to, like, recover his penis and testicles because they were completely enveloped.
Yeah.
They had to take off part of his belly because his belly was so big and so it drooped because he had, like, droop skin sort of thing going on, too, that, like, it was in the way, and they couldn't successfully do the surgery on his nuts because there was too much belly there. So they'd take 100 pounds off of his belly.
Yeah.
They did this massive, huge 100-pound piece off of his belly and 80 pounds of balls at the same time.
Yeah, they were doing these surgeries.
2 sets of surgeons, like 2 teams of surgeons, one on his nuts and one on his belly.
Yeah.
12 straight fucking hours.
I kind of feel like this guy had it worse than the dude with the 180.
Yeah, because that dude just had the ball sack to deal with. This guy had to get like belly surgery and nutsack surgery.
Yeah, he had to get like lipo skin reduction type thing too. It was like,
they took almost 200 pounds off this fucker in one shot. That's got to be a hell of a change.
And he's still a big guy.
And he's still a big dude.
Yeah.
And
that shit's expensive.
I had to laugh though because every time they showed him, he was wearing a Green Lantern shirt, and I had to giggle about that. And he had like a ponytail that was dyed green in the back and shit, so he's obviously a comic geek.
Yeah.
And then they're talking to his wife and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, I'm just so happy they did the surgery because we could get back to getting birth nest and all that shit." And I was like, "Whoa."
Yeah, she was all like, "Get to the getting. I need me some D."
She needed the D.
She needed.
And the lucky thing was when they did the surgery, like his penis and his testicles were completely undamaged by the thing. And
which actually happened for the other guy too.
His were less undamaged, but his were completely pristine or whatever, and so they restructured and gave him like a new ball sack that's normal. And the thing about I don't understand know about this is like, is it something that can happen again? Is my question. Like, will the tissue down there grow again?
That's what I want to understand. Is it like one of those things where it's like is it genital, like is it?
It's a lymphatic condition. It's like something with the.
But is it something like you get from your family, or is it like one of those things where it's like, oh, you got your balls hit just wrong?
No, I think it's more of like a genetic thing.
Oh, okay.
Like, but it was pretty fucking terrifying. But I just I just can't fathom like walking around with giant balls and not doing anything about it.
Wearing a hoodie upside down.
Yeah, and like I get like then some of the people I talked about this on Facebook, and some people were like, well, if you didn't have insurance or something, I'm like, okay, dude, you could go to the fucking clinic and be like, oh goddamn, my balls are like hurting. they're gonna look at them at least.
But I don't think it was they were hurting it. Like it's like they got bigger.
Why? Come on.
Well, they would know though. They would be like, and that's the thing. You can't go to a clinic for everything. They'll be like,
I'm just saying, there's gotta. And then the thing is, when they're most of the time I've seen from watching these specials with these kind of things, these weird ass problems like this, you generally don't have to pay for that shit because it's so weird that
people want to
it's so weird that doctors will jump at the chance to fuck with it.
Yeah, to be like, hey, I did this surgery.
Yeah, and like the surgery, they qualify the surgeries as experimental and like a teaching thing, and they don't end up having to pay huge amounts of money for them. And like most of the time, the other hospital stuff that will be covered, and because it's a threat to your health, most insurance would cover that sort of a thing anyway. Yeah. So, but it's just like, dude, how the fuck do you walk around with 80-pound balls?
That's like, the shitty thing about it. It has to get to that point where it's like 80, 180. Like they can't be like, I got a 5-pound ball. They'll be like, yeah, whatever. Come back when it's like at least like
when they're
80. Come back when they're like at least 60. Then we'll talk.
Don't be bringing me this weak sauce of 5-pound balls, fat boy.
Come on. Fuck it.
I'll be coming in here with your 5-pound ball.
More Big Macs to get that sucker bigger. You know, apparently that's
you're not eating enough bacon to inflate your chest.
You're not doing the Atkins diet right. You know, fuck.
Yeah, it was just something that struck me as weird. Like it was weird enough when I saw it the first time, but my God, like
this is like had like one leg down the sweats and stuff. I was like, oh my God.
There's this horrible scene where like they're at his parents' farm and his dad and his wife are like using one of those like cattle weighing things to weigh his nutsack, and his dad like they're going to the dad. His dad is like deadpan. This look at his face like I just want to die. He's like, if you ever told me I'd be using a scale to weigh my son's scrotum, I don't know what I would have said.
Yeah, he's like, I'd have laughed at you like, no way. But it's like, here I am,
oh, you poor bastard.
Weighing my son's 80-pound scrotum. What fuck?
I feel like we don't get superpowers in our world, but we get weird ass shit like this. Like we get the 80-pound balls guy, or we get that kid who has tree hands or something. Yeah. Like this is the closest to superpowers we get. Just fucked up maladies that are really not very useful.
We don't get like, Inhumans or more like
that kid I saw in the one special who had like literally the 15 times the size hands and shit.
We get Morlocks. That's what we get. We get the Morlocks. Like that's the best we get.
I'm like, man, I'm wondering if it takes away sensitivity in your balls, because if it does, man, you could totally be a crime fighter with that shit. You could be like Scrotum Man.
Just
like value-add motherfuckers with your nuts.
It's clobbering time. Oh my God, he dropped an 80-pound testicle on me. Oh.
You just like cut a hole in the bottom of your tights and let it swang free.
He had that weird appendage.
Yeah.
That was his jam. Oh my God. Oh my God.
And just whap you in the face with a scrotum. I tell you what, that'll fucking steer you away from a life of crime right there. If you know this motherfucker's running around whacking criminals with his ball sack.
The worst tea. It's the tea bagger.
No! I swear I'll never rub it back again.
Do it. Oh, rub it on your forehead. It's bothering my face.
Oh God, his pubes are 9 inches long.
Oh my God.
And you know, unlike the other guy in the other special, like when they showed it, the other guy in the other special who had like the 200-pound balls, they didn't look like balls anymore. They just looked like a terrifying appendage or something.
Yeah, I was just like,
this dude, it still looked like a ball sack.
That's what I was saying. Like with the other one, it just looked like the dude's sack had got that big. With this one, I was like, okay, wait, is it his sack or did his ball literally get that big? Because it's like it kept the same look. Like
it looked like a nutsack.
It's like it looked like somebody could have put it in like a headlock and be like the brain.
Man, that guy would be the king of the brain, wouldn't he?
It looked like his testicle looked like Hector Hammond from the Green Lantern movie. Like it was just, damn.
I was thinking he looked like that version of the leader who
the double
butt head, but he looks like a nutsack.
Oh my God.
Oh, but on that note, we're
on large scrotum,
on giant scrotums of doom, and fighting crime with said scrotum. We're gonna wrap it up because we're at the hour and 15-minute mark. But I'll be back with doing some live stuff this weekend from the Ohio Toy and Comic Show. So please come out and bring Dave a present.
Yeah,
and hey, bring me one too. I mean,
yeah,
I take American Express.
Full frontal nudity.
And yeah, if you want to send us some boobery, that would be great too. No, guys. No. But that's going to wrap it up for this week. From the basement, I'm Todd.
Yeah, I'm Dave.
And until next time, the basement door is closed.
Later.
Scrotum!